since you hit play on Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast today, I want to make sure that you know that our free self-love challenge is happening in February 2024 right here on the podcast. The goal of this challenge is to make creating an intentional practice of self-love even easier than ever simply by plugging in your earbuds and listening for about 10 minutes per day. But for the full experience, you're going to want to get the scorecard so you can enter the giveaways, get the daily journal prompts sent to your inbox, and join us for the live wrap-up podcast recording. Yes, you get to join me in the studio and record the podcast together live. It is all free. Go to wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge to sign up. Again, it is completely free. You'll get a daily reminder with the free 10-minute coaching each day and your journal prompt, and you will see a transformation over these 14 days. It is not only going to impact your relationship with yourself, but as I'll teach during the challenge, it is going to impact every single other relationship you have in your life, your relationship with other people, your relationship with teaching. That energy is going to impact every single other aspect of your life. So sign up at wifeteachermommy.com/self-love challenge. It's free. Now let's get to the episode. You are listening to episode number 44 of Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast, 4 steps to teach holidays around the world. Now, this was our top requested topic for holiday podcasts in our Wife Teacher Mommies Unite Facebook group. So keep listening as this episode is bound to be a new holiday favorite. Glad you're here listening to Wife Teacher Mommy, the podcast today. I'm your host, Kelsey Sorensen, a former elementary teacher turned homeschool mom. Whether you are a teacher or a homeschool parent, my goal at Wife Teacher Mommy is to provide you with both teaching ideas and mindset tools to help you live your absolute best teacher life. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. Now let's go. Have I mentioned how much I love recording podcasts for you that are exactly what you need? I had members of our Wife Teacher Mommies Unite Facebook group vote on a huge list of topics. I had a whole bunch that I was thinking of, and I was like, I don't know, which episode should I record first? Which one should I prioritize? And all the holiday ideas, I definitely couldn't fit them all in time. So I put a poll, and it was obvious that this one jumped to the top. It was, I think, of the whole list, I think it was like 20-something% of people who voted wanted that episode. And it was a big list. So that was by far the highest percentage. So it is the first episode I'm recording since I posted that poll in the group. If you're not in that group already, make sure that you join. It's called Wife Teacher Mommies Unite. It's a free group. And then you can vote next time I am planning for the podcast. And as always, you can always send me a message or an email and let me know what you would like to see too. So we're going to be diving into holidays around the world today for our first episode in November. Super excited. But first, I would also love to share your tips on the podcast in upcoming episodes too. So as I mentioned before, I love sharing my knowledge with you. It's one of my favorite things to do here. But I also know that so many of you have different experiences and perspectives, and I want to amplify those too. So I'm planning the next few months, and some are really popular topics in the poll were true self-care. So not just like, oh, like, you know, what people generally say for self-care, like, oh, just take a bath or whatever. Not saying taking a bath is bad, but what is the true self-care for you? And then how to survive the week before break. So those are 2 popular topics where I want to see what lots of teachers are doing for those 2 things. I want to hear what you have to say. These episodes will be similar to our 2-episode segment I did back in August. In that one, we talked about the educational gaps in that we're seeing right now and the social emotional learning gaps. If you missed those 2 episodes, be sure to scroll back and check those out. They're really good ones because I shared actual voice clips from listeners of the podcast. So these episodes will be very similar to that. I will share some of my own tips at the very beginning, but then I will share tips from teachers in their own voices, their voice recordings. It's so much fun, and I would love to feature you. And if you're listening to this after November 22, you can still try that link, the WTMpodcastinbox.com, as I love to leave it open all the time for just general tips, suggestions, and I may even have some new questions up for future episodes. So be sure to check that out. That will always be the link. It'll redirect to whatever we're using to collect recordings. Okay, so as I said, I'm so excited to be recording our Christmas and winter holiday episodes. This is the first holiday season on the podcast. I started this podcast back in March, so I'm really excited to be diving into these. And I believe that teaching holidays around the world is a great first topic, and it's super important for a few reasons. Because it is a great topic to celebrate diversity and see the different ways people celebrate all around the world, whether it's how they celebrate Christmas or completely different holidays that they celebrate. It shows mirrors where students can see, like, how they celebrate. So if you have students in your classroom who celebrate differently, it'll reflect them. And then windows. So students, if they're just like, oh, I didn't know people celebrated different holidays or that they celebrated in a different way. So it's important so students can see themselves and they can see others. And it gives them appreciation for just holidays and traditions in general and seeing how their holiday traditions differ even from their own classmates. And it's a great way to integrate reading, research, social studies, and holidays all in one. So I'm really excited about this topic. Okay, so we're going to dive into the 4 steps. Okay, so step number 1 is to research holidays and traditions to teach. So first off, you're going to want to decide if you're doing a Christmas around the world unit or a holidays around the world unit or a combination of both. And you can also keep this, like if you're a homeschool parent or if you are a teacher who loops with your students and you'll have the same kids, you could even change it up from year to year. So holidays around the world will give a bit more diversity, but I'm going to go over both in this episode and give you just a little background info so you know where to start with your own research to be ready to share with your students to kind of preview to them or your own kids that you homeschool. So first, let's talk about Christmas around the world. So if you want your focus to be on how Christmas specifically is celebrated around the world, here is a quick rundown of just a little background information about how it's celebrated around the world that you can have, that you can, maybe take some notes as you're listening so you're ready to preview these to your students. Now, remember, these are very generalized, just like anywhere. Like, for example, me here in the United States, different people will have different traditions. Like even, the people across the street from me probably have different ways they celebrate than me and my own family. But here are some fun ways that Christmas is celebrated generally around the world. So Christmas in America, in the United States, Christmas is celebrated on December 24th, Christmas Eve, and the 25th. American traditions are a mixture of other cultures around the world because of the multicultural makeup of the country. Now, Christmas in Sweden, one of the biggest celebrations is St. Lucia's Day on December 13th. Swedish people also celebrate Christmas on December 25th and end their celebration on January 13th with 20th Day Yule. In Mexico, Christmas is celebrated from December 12th through January 6th. Las Posadas begins on December 16th and lasts until Christmas Eve. Many in Mexico will celebrate Dia de los Tres Reyes Magos, which is Three Kings Day. Okay, in Italy, Christmas is celebrated from December 24th through January 6th. This is often referred to as the 12 days of Christmas. In Germany, the Christmas season begins 4 Sundays before Christmas Day on December 25th. Both December 25th and 26th are considered Christmas days in Germany. In France, Christmas celebrations begin on December 6th, which is known as St. Nicholas Day. The Christmas season ends on January 6th, which is known as Epiphany. Fun fact, they decorate the Eiffel Tower for Christmas, which I'm sure is just amazing. I would love to see that one day. And then in Australia, Christmas is celebrated on December 25th and Boxing Day on the 26th. And because Australia is in the Southern Hemisphere, they have summer during December. So this makes their traditions quite different than those around the world. Okay, so that is just a tiny overview that you could kind of preview to your students and talk about those. Now let's talk a little bit about winter holidays around the world and different ones that you could introduce your students to. So the first one is Christmas on December 25th. probably familiar with that. But another winter holiday around the world is Chinese New Year. So this is an annual 15-day festival celebrated in China and by the Chinese communities around the world. The festival begins with a new moon, which occurs sometime between January 21st and February 20th. So again, this is a winter holiday. It's not necessarily a December holiday. And the festival lasts until the next full moon, which is also called the Lunar New Year. Another holiday to add to this list is Diwali, and that is an annual religious holiday celebrated by Hindu communities in India and all around the world. The celebration lasts for 5 days and marks the start of the Hindu New Year. And the exact dates of Diwali changes each year, but it falls between October and November, and it's also called the Festival of Lights. Okay, next is Hanukkah. This is an annual holiday that is celebrated by Jewish communities all around the world, and it lasts for 8 days. The exact dates change each year, but it normally begins between late November and December. Okay, next is Kwanzaa, an annual week-long holiday celebrated by African Americans and African communities all around the world. The celebration begins on December 26th and ends on January 1st. And finally, another one is called Ramadan. And this is an annual holiday celebrated by Muslim communities all around the world. The celebration lasts from 29 to 30 days. And the exact dates of Ramadan changes each year, but it begins in May and ends in June. So again, it's another one that's not quite lined up with Christmas and some of the other holidays, but it's super important. And I feel like it kind of fits into the category, these big celebrations. Now, these aren't definitely every holiday around the world. So if I missed one, I am so sorry and I apologize. And also, if any of this information is inaccurate, I apologize for that as well. You can always email us and let me know. I definitely try to keep things accurate for all of you. Okay, so number 2 is to preview these to your students so they can learn a little bit about all of them. So name each of the holidays or places that you want the students to learn about. So you can kind of like pre-pick which ones and then tell them a little bit about them just generally, kind of like I just did on the podcast. But you can give them as much or as little info as you like. You could even just give them the names of the holidays and have them go from there, or you could give them the dates, traditions, food, decorations, etc., or let them figure those out themselves. So we have adorable info sheets in our Holidays Around the World unit, which are a great way to preview these holidays without having to do much research up front. And then the students can research more in-depth information. So you can just hand these out, and they have adorable clip art on them with like labels and like a short description of each holiday. Basically, what I read off to you is what is on those info sheets. So we have these. Grab it if you're a Wife Teacher Mommy Club member, and it's also available for purchase in our shop and TPT. And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the podcast as well. Number 3 is to have groups dive deep into each holiday with research. So each group of students will have one of the holidays to study. This is a great opportunity for research, teamwork, and collaboration skills. So always start with modeling how to research, especially if students haven't done yet. But it's even a good reminder, even if they have. So remind them of text features, how to search online, safe websites to use. One search that I really like is Kiddle.co. It's a kid search engine by Google. We also have a good list of these inside that resource of different search engine options. And so some of the holidays are a bit harder to find on search than others. So inside our unit, we compiled a list of websites for you. Now, we checked all of the links when we last updated the unit, which I believe was about 8 months ago. We try to keep these up to date, but I can't promise that there aren't any broken links now, but I'm sure that most of them are probably still active. So when students are doing this research, I love to have students use a research journal. This is one of my favorite ways to do research. And you can have the students focus on just one question each day so they don't get overwhelmed. So some sample questions for holidays around the world that you could have students focus on each day. So for the first one, you could activate their background knowledge and have them look up who celebrates the holiday, or what do I know about this place if you're doing Christmas around the world. So if they're doing like Christmas in Italy or something, what do they know about Italy? Another question could be, how did the holiday begin? What are the dates, important details, etc. So you can have them look into different questions each day. Traditions, foods, what kind of decorations, what are some of the important symbols? How is it different from other winter holidays? How is it the same from other winter holidays or other places if you're doing Christmas around the world? Another thing I love to always include is an interesting facts page. So if students, they're researching, they're focusing today on the traditions, but then they like find just a super cool fact about it, then they have a page where they can write things that they discover that are unrelated to their focus for that day. And then after they've completed the research journal with all the questions, they already have all the information compiled. It's kind of like their rough draft to put together a written report. And it obviously depends on the age level of your students. If they're just starting, the journal might be their final destination, but you could also have them do a written report to extend that and go through the writing process a bit if you would like. So this is kind of a brief overview of our 5-step process that I talk about for research. So I have it as just as one step in this podcast episode, but this was actually a super condensed version of what I went over in episode 5 of the podcast, I believe it was. And that episode is called Skyrocket Research Skills for Elementary Students. So you can learn all about the actual 5-step process of them compiling their research. It would be too long for this episode to go into that whole process, but if you want to do this and you want a little bit more guidance on the research part, be sure to check out that episode. And now, we're going to talk about what's kind of step 5 in that episode I just mentioned, but it's step 4 in this podcast, which is celebrate the holidays together. You can have an end of the unit kind of hands-on project that is a fun way to celebrate. And what we have in our unit, and what I think is really fun, specifically for holidays around the world, is to create a decoration for the holiday that they have been studying, because decorations are a big part of holidays. So they will create the decoration and then explain it. That's partially sharing what they learned. They can share what they learned with each other. You could have them do vocal presentations. You could do like a fair where you invite other classes to come around and see their decorations, and they can share a little about what they learned, or have other parents come in. Whatever you would like to do to really just celebrate, like, hey, we learned about these holidays and now we want to share about it and celebrate. So just make sure that you find a way to do that, to celebrate those holidays. Okay, so now for a recap, the 4 steps are: 1, research ahead of time to teach. So you want to make sure that you have the list of holidays or the list of places that you want to do for your holidays around the world or Christmas around the world unit. Number 2 is to kind of preview these to your students. Like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to research about these different holidays, and this is what we are going to do. And then you'll model the whole process and everything. Number 3 is your students doing the research. And before you do that, also, again, modeling how to do the research, where to do it safely, table of contents index, all those things. And finally, have them celebrate what they've learned with doing their decoration for the holiday. Okay, so if you want an easy way to do this, we created a ready-to-go Holidays Around the World research unit. It has a full unit outline so you can know exactly what to do each day of the unit, and a grading rubric so you know how to grade the students on their work as well. We have included lesson plans and graphic organizers for teaching students how to find credible sources, using the internet for research, table contents and index, and other informational text features. We have included a complete list of websites for holiday research that was up to date as of 8 months ago. We have instructions and lesson plans for each part of the unit. We have examples of decorations that could be created. We have a pre-written parent letter that is editable to add your own dates and times if you want to invite parents to come the final day. We have a full research journal with those daily questions in 3 sizes. So this is differentiated. We have predetermined questions for each day, as well as editable ones to add your own questions to. And then for the whole unit, we have a choice of fun, bright holiday colors or black and white to save on ink. And there's a digital version in full color available too. So I want to share a few wins from users who have tried out this unit. So Tara B says, I knew that I wanted to do a project similar to this one and researched several products and decided to purchase this one. I figured that it would be good, but I wasn't expecting all the product has to offer. It is high quality and well thought out. Very happy with this purchase. Brittany M says, this is beyond fun. My students were interested in different holidays and wanted to do a project with partners, so finding this resource and it having everything I need plus more was amazing. They're having a lot of fun with it. Amy S., excellent research focus unit. This unit has everything to help get students started with their research and work through the project. Having these in Google Slides format is perfect for my students so they can research and then create on their computer, both in school and at home, without losing any of their work. So the project is linked in the show notes for purchase on our website or TPT. Also, if you are a club member, be sure to access this and so many other holiday resources included in your membership. We have tons. We have this, we have our Secret Santa, our December subplans, our December homeschool lessons, December writing prompts, December reading passages, I Spy Math, directed drawings. Oh my goodness, so much more. So the club doors are closed right now, but if you're listening and you are not a member yet, you can request an invite to be let in the club so you can get an opportunity to join us. We have lots of fun stuff coming for our members, like our winter break, Educate and Rejuvenate. That is going to be so much fun, but it's going to be just for members for winter break. It's going to be one simple day just for members all together, so all of us can enjoy our holidays. I don't think anybody wants to do a 3-day event over the holidays. And also my team and I, we need to be able to rest and rejuvenate over the holidays too. So we just need to keep it simple this time, but it's going to be a lot of fun. And next week, I will be sharing how you can do a secret Santa activity in your classroom and sharing my personal story of creating this idea and implementing it into a classroom for the first time. So I'm super excited for that episode. Can't wait. I will talk to you then. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you're ready to take the next step with me, then you are going to love Wife Teacher Mommy Club. Our top-selling resources for pre-K through 6th grades have been used and loved by tens of thousands of teachers. And the club gives you one-click access to all of them to meet the needs of every child you teach while saving tons of time. Plus, you'll have our certified life coach in your back pocket with several monthly workshops and an Ask a Coach portal you can use 24/7. The combo of resources and coaching is our secret sauce to your best teacher life. Think of my team and I as your personal team, doing the lesson planning for you and on the sidelines coaching you and cheering you on as you focus on what you do best, impacting the children you teach. Plus, if you're loving this podcast, you'll also have access to our private podcast just for members, where I continue the conversation with all of our guests with members-only bonus episodes. And don't forget the club with VIP access to Educate and Rejuvenate, our summer conference, and our private Facebook community full of like-minded educators supporting each other. You do so much for everyone else, so it's time to invest in yourself. Your teacher friends' jaws will drop when they see just how quickly you finish your planning. Not to mention the glow of the happier, more fulfilled you. Head on over to wifeteachermommyclub.com to learn more.